committee, but we will, it's like we haven't ever left this place, isn't it? A deja vu or a bad penny or whatever you want to call it.
Yes.
Welcome, members. Appreciate to see everyone here today. And there's a few with smiles on their face even. So appreciate that you were able to get home and get back during our recess. Mark, would you call the roll, please?
Representative Campbell.
Here.
Representative Knapp.
Here.
Representative Larson.
Here.
Representative Lawley.
Here.
Representative Riggins.
Here.
Representative Schmidt.
Here.
Representative Tarver.
Here.
Representative Weber.
Here.
Chairman Heiner.
Here,
Chairman, you have a quorum.
a full quorum too. Isn't that amazing? Ladies and gentlemen, we have a couple of bills on the docket. This will be the last day for House bills for our committee. So we will deal with these and then hopefully by Friday, we'll have some Senate files we can begin working on. So any announcements from the body? Any birthdays today or any happy news we can start with?
We all woke up this morning and we're here.
Yeah, that's amazing sometimes. Okay, we're going to start with House Bill 128, Enhanced Oil Recovery Severance Tax Exemption. Representative Vice Chair Tarver. This is a bill that we all heard during the interim. Hopefully we remember all the things that we talked about in the interim. We just didn't have time to make it a committee bill. So thank you, Representative Tarver.
Yeah, thank you, Chairman and Committee. Bring forth the House Bill 128. How far do you want me to go into this? It's
30,000 feet in the helicopter.
30,000 feet. So this bill basically is for tertiary production. It has to go through the approval process. It's basically a hand up for anyone trying to do EOR. It gives them 5 years of tax exemption for severance tax. And I would love for Mr. Whitman come up here and give you a little bit, maybe better look at it if you like it. If you want to ask questions, please do.
Any questions for Representative Tarver? Any questions? All right, phone a friend. Mr. Whitman, welcome. Good morning to you.
Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Lon Whitman, Director, Enhanced Oil Recovery Institute. And I did put together a little presentation for you, and I won't go through that in detail unless you would like that. This is the bill that we worked all summer and the previous summer as well. So I think you're quite familiar with it. I thought it might be beneficial for you to get a little more of those details from last summer if you needed those. I always like to start that enhanced oil recovery in Wyoming has provided significant revenue to the state through severance and ad valorem taxes, well over $1 billion. And what we're after, what ERI focuses on, is that stranded oil that won't be produced without this process. So that is the result of getting stranded oil out since 1986, 1.16 billion. There's also multiple reports, including internal ERI reports and external from pretty solid engineering groups that estimate in our conventional reservoirs well over 2 billion barrels, which could be produced through enhanced oil recovery. So it's an important thing to stay focused on. We also like to remind everyone that these projects are quite costly. I would say right now on the projects that are developing, you're looking at least $250 million startup costs for each one of these that's developing. I added some newer information for you further down in the packet about the project status and what's developing since we last talked. And that it isn't the big guys that are doing these projects. It's not Exxon and Oxy may be coming in later, but it's the smaller mid-sized companies that are doing these projects. So House Bill 128 provides them the support they need early on in the project to offset those high costs for startup. And there was a history of doing this, actually twice. 1986 was the first time, and that launched Lost Soldier Works near Bear Oil. That project is still continuing today with CO2 EOR. The second round was 2003 to 2008. And you saw two projects, two of the largest in Wyoming history, Salt Creek and Patrick Draw Field Monell Unit. And those two are continuing. So we like to talk about these numbers from those two projects. And I apologize, your page numbers didn't get auto-corrected. But looking at those two projects specifically and how that severance tax exemption from 2003 to 2008, how that affected the state's revenue, you can see that if you looked at the period from 2003 to 2008 for just those two fields, they produced just about 10 million barrels and severance tax that would have been paid to the state of about 29 million. So if you consider that 29 million as lost revenue, what you want to do next is look what happens since 2008 to current, and what's your revenue to the state from those two projects. In the second chart there, which on this presentations is page 8, total 2009 to 2024. We went through 2024. Those numbers that get updated. We're in 2026 now, so 25 finishes in December. You'll see increased numbers, but through that December 2024 period, severance tax revenue of about $236 million from those two fields. And they're still continuing. And as I said, the numbers are actually improved from what's on that chart on the page 8. So if you look at that total, 236, but you invested, which was the severance tax you lost of 29 million, the net profit from that severance tax exemption is about $206 million. So that was the work we did last summer and the summer before, taking a look at really how you would justify a tax exemption. I think for a $29 million investment to get 206 million back is pretty good. The next page shows you a map, and we've updated some map for you and provided you a sense of the current ones plus the developing ones. And we have had some operator shifts in Wyoming, and you may be aware of those. If we start up in the northeast corner, and we've talked about these fields, the Halverson, Raven Creek, and Dillinger Ranch that are in pink. That's a company out of Denver, small family-owned company that's developing those three fields. They're moving forward quite nicely. They've worked with Exxon. They're in their final financing phase for those three projects. A little further to the west and south, Hartsog Draw. That was a field that we've talked about in the past with this committee that was owned by or purchased by Denbury, and we did significant work at ERI with Denbury on that field. The acquisition of Denbury by Exxon, that became an Exxon field, and they sold it to MI3. MI3 is a pretty recognized reservoir engineering group out of Golden, Colorado. We've had interface with MI3 for years. They worked Beaver Creek and Big Sand Draw fields. They're very solid, and technically you can't beat them. They recently acquired Hartsog Draw, and they're advancing quite quickly with that project at Hartsog Draw. Right below that, you see Sussex West, Sussex, and Meadow Creek Field around Lynch, Wyoming, just east of KC. Those three fields were designed for a flood by Anadarko. That was a primary target of Anadarko when they were operating Salt Creek. They did unbelievable amounts of work on those three fields, and then Anadarko was sold. That was acquired originally by Contango, and we've had another operator shift. So Contango sold their assets in Wyoming, everything they have in Wyoming, to a group called Ethel. And Ethel's another quite powerful little group. They're all former Conoco petroleum engineers and geologists, and they acquired the Contango assets in Wyoming. And we've met several times already, and we'll continue to work with them, see how they'd like to develop it. Out of Lost Cabin, there's a significant interesting project there for a pipeline feed study into the Bighorn Basin. When I first went to URI in 2006-05, our governor was Friedenthal, and there was a huge push from that point forward. When can we get CO2 into the Bighorn Basin? I believe you're finally seeing it. I mean, it's a project supported by the Wyoming Energy Authority, I think about $300,000 for this feed study. And they're partnered with Merit Energy, who owns some of the most significant fields in the Bighorn Basin. And they would take that pipeline through a routing that exists and develop a variety of fields in the Bighorn Basin. So we're quite pleased to see that's actually finally advancing, and it looks fairly solid. You never know exactly what will happen, but we've never gotten to this point on a pipeline into the Bighorn Basin. So we're quite pleased with that. So that shows you the newer fields in development and also that pipeline feed study. So there is really big and important EOR activity in the state. And I believe that House Bill 28 will support even further advancements of these, because as I said, some of those projects are still in funding phases. For the company to be able to say and recognize this severance tax exemption, funding becomes easier in some ways because they like how the economics look on the project. It's improved. You have this exemption for 5 years or however many years you have from injection point. For instance, the MI3 project, they look to be injecting by first quarter 2028. And this would substantially improve their economics and move that project forward even quicker in discussions with them. The TR operating is still looking for a 2027 injection. So again, I think these projects will be very supported by House Bill 128. And I also like to point out, as we worked last summer, we talk about other EOR options, nitrogen, enriched air, and NGL, which we have all current active projects in Wyoming through Enhanced Oil Recovery Institute. Those are also pricey. It's not like those are significantly cheaper, so everyone's running to do nitrogen or NGLs. So this also benefits any kind of EOR that is developing in the state, which I think is very, very beneficial. I did want to make and bring to your consideration some wording consideration or change potentially. The word tertiary has kind of gone out the window, and it's that wording, how we phrase things, is largely driven by the Society of Petroleum Engineers, who develops the proper language, et cetera, for what's going on in the oil business. Tertiary obviously refers to the third phase, which is historically, some people called it third phase. But the truth is EOR often occurs before the third phase. So I would recommend considering changing from using tertiary in the bill language to something around incremental production from EOR or EGR, because you're also covering enhanced gas recovery, which I think you're also going to see developing in Wyoming. It's not too much complication there. I think every place in the bill where that's listed, I would recommend that that wording be changed perhaps to tertiary, from tertiary to incremental EOR or incremental EGR production. And I think it's listed in there. I don't know. For example, line 1 in the introduction, incremental oil and gas EOR production. We should include the EGR and EOR, enhanced gas recovery, enhanced oil recovery. Line 5, incremental EOR, EGR production. line 7, same thing. It's a short and very clear bill, so it's not a lot of change to do, but I think I would recommend that for your consideration. Any questions, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you, Director Whitman. Any questions for the director? Any questions? Thank you very much. Very
Thank you.
compelling argument you got
You
there.
bet. Thank you. Have a good day.
Good morning, Mr. Obermuller.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, Pete Obermuller, President of Petroleum Association of Wyoming. I don't really need to add on to what Director Whitman talked about. You know all of that, and you know what I'm about to say too, but I want to just reiterate that one of the worst things that could happen for Wyoming's oil and gas economy and economy writ large is if our many thousands of marginally producing wells were plugged and abandoned. Even if they're only producing a marginal amount right now, keeping them open is very important as we develop this technology through the good work of EORI and others, and that this kind of technology advances and we are able to get more and more out. You all know that many of our fields, even the ones that have been produced for over 100 years up in the Oregon Basin and others, still have upwards of 80% of oil in place. So a bill like this and a bill we proposed to you all minerals in the summer, 2 approaches, this one, and then also one to deal with the upfront capital costs. Hopefully that one is going to come over to you from the Senate. These 2 things combined will most certainly move the needle on making sure that we keep these wells open for as long as we possibly can and enhance the production along the way. So I appreciate the bill, I appreciate the bringer, and happy to support, happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Obermuller? Any questions? Seeing none, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other testimony? Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. My name is Claire Duder, and I'm a staff member with Powder River Basin Resource Council. We are a statewide member-driven organization, and although we understand the intent of the bill to increase revenue over the long term, we are concerned about the impacts to communities in Wyoming in the meantime. We all know that revenue is so important for things like schools and roads in these communities, and so we just urge you to vote no on this bill. Thank you.
Okay, any questions for Representative Campbell?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for coming. Well, I'm a little bit confused, and perhaps we could get together later, but I don't know why you would encourage a no vote on that. Could you elaborate just a little?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Campbell, our members have voiced concern about communities not having money in the meantime if we give exemptions to industry. And that's just, perhaps that is, something we could talk about more. Thank you.
So we're not taking any money from the communities by the numbers we're seeing, Ms. Juder. We're bringing more to it through old wells, rejuvenating these wells. So it brings a lot more money to the communities at no cost to the communities. So could you explain how the impact is going to hurt the communities to bring more money?
Mr. Chairman, the concern was within the exemptions within the short term and the impacts of the money coming in during then, but I was not here during the summer, and I understand that you guys have gone through this thoroughly, so.
Okay, all right. Any questions? Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Matt Sachet, Administrator of the Department of the Mineral
I've
Tax
seen
Division.
you quite a bit lately. Mr.
Yes,
Director
sir.
Sachet.
We would have no problem administering this bill as written. However, the request to change the tertiary does bring up a concern. While for industry, it may be an antiquated term, in the statutes, it's defined term. It defines what tertiary is, and it also provides that the Oil and Gas Commission has the authority to certify these tertiary projects, which is important for us with the Department of Revenue in order to administer this exemption. We then rely on the Oil and Gas Commission to certify the project, and with that certification, we can then apply this. So by removing that, it puts up in the air who's defining what a tertiary project is. So we would like to recommend that the tertiary stay in because it is a defined term within the statute. And then with that, I'll answer any questions.
Thank you, Director Sachet. Representative Riggins. Hold on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Quick question on that wording of that as we go forward and amend this. On one line, it says, report on the tertiary production. Could that be report on the incremental production? Would that satisfy your thoughts on this?
Director Sachet.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Riggins, I believe it's not on the incremental portion. I think it's on the entire EOR project. Director Whitman would be able to answer that better, but I do believe that's the intent, is for the entire EOR project to be under this.
Mr. Whitman, Director Whitman.
Mr. Chairman, so when you talk, for instance, on that page with the map, I believe I included a graph that, a simple graph that showed you one project with a water flood that started, went across. You see the decline of that production rate at the bottom. And then it shows you a CO2 injection point, and that production increases significantly and then starts a new decline. What we're talking about for EOR purposes is that shaded area. So it is the incremental above what they were already producing. So you wouldn't do a severance tax exemption on what they were already producing prior to the enhanced oil recovery project starting. So you are talking that only that shaded area technically. There would be no reason to give them a tax exemption on what they're already making. That was not EOR. That was due to the water flood in that case, where there is no exemption for a water flood. It's not an enhanced project.
Follow up, Mr. Riggins? Any other? So I've got some concerns also of changing this wording. Tertiary has worked for years. That was very successful. It's already defined, but by changing this, could it be interpreted when a producer goes in and puts coiled tubing down a well to capture more oil because of the coiled tubing, you're able to lift oil that originally you couldn't lift from deeper down. Could that confuse things and people think, well, that's enhanced oil production because we put coiled tubing down and there's not that much expense to coiled tubing versus tertiary production of CO2 injection?
Mr. Chairman, so the definition for EOR would require you to put something into the reservoir that didn't exist prior.
Like soap?
Soap, solvents, exactly. So if you have a reservoir that has high gas content, a gas cap, secondary recovery would include putting gas in because it's already in the reservoir. So that would not be enhanced oil recovery. That would be improved oil recovery, but not enhanced. Enhanced, you have to put something into the reservoir that didn't exist prior to injecting. So that is, the definitions are quite clear. And I don't know that having tertiary is a deal killer, but perhaps you just want.
So Mr. Director Whitman, soap stick costs what, $3? You throw a soap stick down, put in a coiled tubing, and for a matter of a few $1,000s, you get all this severance tax relief. I think wouldn't it cause a lot of confusion? And do you think it would be successful if we just left it as tertiary that has been used in the past.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I believe that certainly the Oil and Gas Commission understands what we're talking about. If they're the defining, we can certainly work with them. I mean, to calculate, for instance, in that case that I showed you, it's very easy to see what that incremental production is because you knew what it was prior and you can see the change in the increase. And what that increase is those are actual numbers. It's not like we designed some weird model to show you. That's actual production number and increases. So maybe it's worth some more discussion, but I think as far as the Oil and Gas Commission is concerned and the history using tertiary, it is clear. It has been clear. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I think that is very beneficial.
Let's hoping Tom Kopach was.
Mr. Koprat, thank you for being here this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Tom Kropatch. I'm the Oil and Gas Supervisor at the Oil and Gas Commission. I don't really have any comments. We can work with tertiary. We could work the other way. We can determine what that incremental production is. So no issues implementing the way it's written now or with the changes that were proposed. Either way that you decide to go, we can work with that and we can implement the bill as it's written. So
thank you. Representative Lawley, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, Mr. Kopach. Thank you for being here. Did I understand correctly from Mr. Sachet that it would be you that would, I don't mean by you personally, but the Oil and Gas Commission that would be providing the information that the Department of Revenue would use in order to implement the bill on the revenue side? Is that correct?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Lawley, that's correct. We would provide the production data and the dates, certifying the projects and the dates that the incremental production occurred. So helping calculate, how long that exemption occurs for and on what volumes of production that it would occur on.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Koprat? Seeing none, thank you for being here. Any other testimony from in the room? Online, do we have any online, Libby? Okay, going once, going twice. We'll close public testimony. Committee, what's your pleasure?
Bill.
Moved by Representative Lawley and seconded by Representative Schmidt. Discussion. Question being called. Thank you. We are voting on House Bill 128, Enhanced Oil Recovery Severance Tax Exemption. Mark, would you call the roll, please?
Representative Campbell,
Aye.
Representative Knapp,
Aye.
Representative Larson.
Aye.
Representative Lawley,
Aye.
Representative Riggins,
Aye.
Representative Schmidt,
Aye.
Representative Tarver,
Aye.
Representative Weber,
Aye.
Chairman Heiner.
Aye.
Chairman, you have a due pass 9-0.
Okay. House Bill 128 has passed unanimously from the committee. And Representative Tarver, I assume you'll carry this. All right, we'll move on to our next bill, House Bill 160, Digital Taxonomy Act. Do we have a presenter? Representative Singh. Digital Taxonomy Act. Representative Singh. Do we have a presenter? For lack of a presenter, I guess do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I move we table this bill indefinitely.
Do we have a second? Okay, moved by Representative Larson. Your name's not on the bill.
Yeah.
Seconded by Representative Lawley to table indefinitely. That is not up for debate. It's a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed signify by saying nay. All right, that bill has been tabled indefinitely. Members of the committee, that completes our task for today and for our House bills. We have done well. We've moved How many bills have we moved through here in a short amount of time? We've met for 3 days, 3 times. We've moved how many bills? 1? No, more than 1. But some of them did not move, but we've had about, well, we'll find that out and let you know. But thank you for your diligence being here this morning, especially I know it's difficult for most of you, but we will adjourn this committee.